Hey everyone, welcome to another live edition of the Bolt Crew podcast. Dave Palais, Josh Palais, and Mario Heron talking Charger football with you on a Tuesday afternoon. Again, 1 o'clock Pacific time. We're here every Tuesday, 1 o'clock on Thursdays, and then right after the game on either Sunday, Monday, whenever the hell the Chargers play. You'll be the first to know. But again, it was a lot of fun doing the show the other day, guys, when we did the post-game show after a win. Again, the Chargers right now have a winning record, big win against the Raiders. You can see in the comments and the people that viewed the show, man, they're excited and people are ready for football. And before Josh joined us in his square, Mario and I were just talking for a second, just saying how great is the NFL. I mean, we're all so excited that the NFL is back, and it makes all the difference in the world when your team wins. And I'll ask you guys, we'll start right off the bat of this. I still feel the buzz, like the excitement of when I wake up in the morning the next day, Chargers won on Sunday. 2 days later, Chargers won on Sunday. And then the schedule plays into our favor that the next Sunday can't get here fast enough because you feel like this is going to be another great show. Like, I hate to say it, call it pitiful, but I'm living for these 3 hours every week.
Oh, I am too. And I can't stop watching enough Charger content, whether it's the Jim Harbaugh press conference or when he goes on Colin Cowherd or any of the players talking about the game. If your team wins, you're all in everywhere, right? You're looking at every single media outlet trying to find anything about your team. A lot different than last season where I'm like, just don't talk about the Chargers to me. I don't want to hear it. But it's so different this year, Mario. Having Jim Harbaugh around makes the world of difference.
Dude, it makes a world of difference. And it's also just fun seeing every news outlet talks about the Chargers, and it's in a positive way. You know what I mean? Like, that's such a good, like, enlightening feeling where you don't just turn on someplace random and, if the Chargers gets brought up, it's not automatically, oh my God, Staley's an idiot, or, the Chargers are going down a dark path. Like, it's something enlightening. Like, maybe Harbaugh's building something over there, and it's always good to start off the year 1-0 because I really do believe, Dave, there's nothing worse than a bad start, and then everyone's telling you, like, how bad your season's going to suck.
It's the panic because if you start off 0-1, everybody knows that crazy stat if your team starts off 0-2, right? Basically, the stats tell you if you start off 0-2, your season's already over. Like, if you're the Raiders and you got to face the Ravens the next week, it's one of those, like, our season's over again. Like, we're already looking forward to the draft and what's going to happen. And, you know what I mean? It puts crazy pressure on guys. And then at the same point, who's getting traded on this team that has a name that can get you something in return? Obviously, it's Devontae Adams' name is going to keep coming up all the way through the trade deadline. So the difference of winning game one and getting that first win out of the way is big. I always feel it's like that in every sport because then you start to panic. If you're going, let's say you're a baseball team and you start off the season 0-4, even though there are 162 games, you're chasing. You never want to be in a position where you're chasing. You want to be able to control your own destiny. And so for the Chargers to win that first game, Mario, it's great. And at the same time, having the Panthers game two, even better. I mean, we expect this team to go 2-0. And look, the Patriots the Patriots won on the road against Cincinnati. Anything can happen in the NFL. But this is one of those days where you're going, there's no reason for this team not to start off 2-0.
I was thinking about, is there a better team to face in all of professional sports than the Carolina Panthers? If you're trying to get your confidence. Honest to God, I think the Carolina Panthers, knock on wood, are the worst team in professional sports today. From top down, everybody knows their owner is a psychopath. Their quarterback, Bryce Young, he has struggled all throughout his career in these first 2 years. There's nobody on that team that really scares you, but it's the NFL, and you never know what's going to happen. Anything can happen on a Sunday. I understand that. But for this Chargers team, I believe there's not a better team to face in all professional sports than the Carolina Panthers.
I agree with that, especially when you look at where it comes between, right? Like, you're facing we're going from a Raiders team that rivalry game, so emotions are high, very physical team, very chippy team, and you're going to feel it on Monday morning. And then, post Panthers, you have a Steelers, which is very similar with Mike Tomlin, who's a Super Bowl winning head coach, and no game's an easy game against the Steelers. You're facing arguably the best defensive player in football in TJ Watt. Like, that game's going to be a nightmare no matter way you see it. Like, that's going to be a very tough game. And then to have this high school football team that we face this week, I mean, it's perfection. And a team that's just getting absolutely poured on because you have Bryce Young, who, when you're a quarterback, Dave, and you throw a pick to start the game and to start the second half, that equals to like 5 picks. Like, times those 2 picks by 5 because it feels that much more when you do that. And coming out of the game and coming out of the half. Like, that's just not very good for him. That team's a mess. And to have that right there for the Chargers, I think is good. And it's going to be good for Ladd McConkey and Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston, who need the confidence to keep going up.
It's amazing now, the NFL is built for parity, right? It's designed for every team to basically be around a 500 team. The Panthers are such a disaster. Just something Josh touched on. You can do your homework on it. Look at the Panthers owner. I mean, it is one giant mistake that the NFL made approving their owner, because he has killed that city. He has killed that franchise. Bryce Young is in the worst situation I can think of any NFL player being in, to be drafted by a terrible franchise. I mean, Adam Thielen is basically his number one target. He'd be fine if it was Lance Allworth. You got old wide receivers and you have no one to protect them. You have nothing there in Carolina. I'm not going to say I feel bad for Bryce Young. Obviously, being an Alabama fan, you want to see these guys go on and do something. But Bryce Young's going to be marked as a guy that's a terrible football player for years to come. And who knows if he can bounce out of it, because he's going to get PTSD being in that organization. It's one of those where, hey, you know what? It's your fault. You guys blew it. Guess what? The Chargers are going to take advantage of it. People on the side, I can see in the chat, you guys are worried that we're jinxing the Chargers right now. Look, Jim Harbaugh is not going to let this be a slip game. You aren't going in week 2 of the season with a brand new coach after a huge win against the Raiders and have a slip game. That doesn't happen. I don't care if they're playing at 10 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. This game could be at 5 a.m. There's no way the Chargers aren't going to be prepared to play against Carolina. I have full faith the Chargers are going to have their best effort. At the same time, I don't think we're even close to seeing the best of what the Chargers can do. This is exactly what you needed. You need, kind of as in the boxing game, a couple easy fights before you face the big contenders. Week 3 is going to be a little bit tougher when you face Pittsburgh on the road. And Pittsburgh, again, isn't one of those teams that you go, that's the top team in their division. Things are shaping up pretty good. I think the Chargers can walk through. And what I mean walk through is you prepare it week by week. It's a little bit tougher before you face a real team in the Chiefs. And then it's all on. I mean, here we go. The season's full blast, and let's be ramped up, ready to go without, the stupid mistakes.
Yeah, Michael Haggard says, my White Sox are easily the worst team in sports. Show some respect. Dude, you're so right.
Yeah,
totally forgot about that. The White Sox are the worst team we have all ever seen, ever. Sorry about that. Your team is the worst ever. I think Mario made a great point a second ago when he said guys like Quentin Johnston and Josh Palmer and Ladd McConkey and even Hayden Hurst, I think, have a situation ahead of them against the Carolina Panthers where they can gain some confidence and have more targets and more catches. I'm really happy with Ladd McConkey to have a touchdown in your first NFL game ever. I'm so happy to have that for him. Quentin Johnston, I know Dave's going to touch on this later on. I think he had an okay game, better than he usually does, but I think there's still room for improvement. I think we can all agree on that. And then Josh Palmer kind of disappeared throughout that game. We want him to be a little bit better. This is a great opportunity for everybody to get touches. Gus Edwards as well could get a touchdown in this game. To say that you're going to jinx the Chargers, we shouldn't be worried about that. I asked the question when Jim Harbaugh was hired, what makes him great? He doesn't lose to teams that he's supposed to beat. You can't say that about Brandon Staley and Mike McCoy and Anthony Lynn, because that happened all the time. With this new regime, you beat these teams, and you beat these teams bad. I think the Raiders are better than the Panthers. Everybody would agree there. We beat them by 12, so you'd expect the Chargers to win by at least 12 against the Carolina Panthers.
I think the interesting thing, too, with the Carolina Panthers, guys, is the loss that they had to the Saints in week 1, as ugly as it was, I think what makes it uglier is that it was against a divisional opponent that is a quote-unquote rival. We mentioned ad nauseum, but how many times in the NFL do we see said team at its worst moments going up against said team at its best moments, and somehow it's a close game, and somehow it comes down to the wire, and everyone's like, how did the Raiders hang with the Chiefs? How did the Jaguars hang with Peyton Manning and the Colts? How does that happen? And it's like, well, it's a divisional game. These guys are rivals, and weird things happen in those games. Nothing weird happened in that game. What happened was just pure dominance. Just pure Panthers suck. Saints aren't, spectacular, but they're a better football team than them, and they showed it. So I think that's even more of a weakness on the Panthers side going into this, going, guys, this is a team that's really beaten down. This is a team that really doesn't have the talent to hang with almost anyone in the NFL. And they might have, the worst record again in the NFL at the end of this year. On top of that, can you guys, if we did a power rankings of the QBs with the most pressure heading into NFL week 2, you can't tell me that Bryce Young's not 1, 2, or 3. Right, Dave? Like, can you really do that? Can you name 3 other guys above him?
I'll be honest with you, I can. I think there are teams out there that were expected to win that have pressure on them, and two of them are in the state of Ohio. I think Joe Burrow and DeShaun Watson both have a ton of pressure on them. I think there are quarterbacks out there that have a ton of pressure. I don't think anything's expecting anything. Anyone that knows anything about football is not expecting anything from Bryce Young. It sucks that he's always going to be compared to C.J. Stroud, but there's a huge difference in rosters and ownership and support for what Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud have. I mean, both Southern California kids face each other in high school, all that stuff, national championships, all that stuff that these two guys have played in big games. It's night and day, man, where these two guys are. But I think there are quarterbacks out there. Aaron Rodgers can say whatever he wants. He has pressure too. Aaron Rodgers wasn't that impressive when he's been waiting a long time to get back on the football field, and a lot is expected by the Jets. I think you can go through the NFL. I don't know anyone, honestly. We would not be talking about the Panthers on Monday next week or Tuesday when we do the show if it wasn't for them playing the Chargers, right? I mean, the Panthers are just that team you throw in the corner and go, you aren't even a thought. You aren't even relevant to the NFL right now. Maybe not for a long, long time.
To answer your question, Mario, DeShaun Watson to me has by far the most pressure on him. The performance that he put out there over the weekend was one of the worst we've ever seen in NFL history. Like, he just looked like he's never played football before, which really sucks because the last football game that I was ever a part of, he beat our ass in the national championship. I'm like, why couldn't he do that in 2017? Anyways, Bryce Young, nobody expects anything. They're expected to lose every single game the whole season. I don't know the odds on the Panthers, but you'd expect them to be the underdogs in every game. And like Dave said, if they weren't playing the Chargers, we would never mention them. After this game, after you expect the Chargers to beat the hell out of them, we're going to move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? That's the next game. That's where our focus is going to be. TJ Watt, all those guys over there, we're going to be focused there. But one game at a time. And if you start 2-0, you have to imagine the Chargers are a team to beat for every team on this schedule. This is not a team you roll over.
No, it's not. And it's so big to go 2-0 too in this kind of span because it only gets rougher as we go on into this season. My biggest thing too, guys, I really wish we played the Bengals like right now. Like, holy hell, do I wish we put them right now and not later on the year. Yeah, and the Browns. DeShaun Watson's a good point. I was just, for some reason, I thought Daniel Jones right away, and I thought, but Daniel Jones is not going to have a job anyways, no matter what. That guy's gone.
Those guys waited in the parking lot to heckle him. Did you see it? I mean, they literally, fans waited in the parking lot just to make sure you heard them. That was tough.
Can we also just be honest? Who the hell didn't see this coming? A quarterback from Duke? Like, what are we, like, were we all smoking something? Like, what was going on there? Like, I never, ever did I ever think that guy was going to be something.
Me either.
That's the issue right there, right? With the quarterbacks getting giant contracts. There's no in between. It's either you're going to make a ton of money or we're going to let you go and move on to the next quarterback. And the Giants were like, well, we can't just let him go because he had that crazy playoff game against the Vikings. Remember, he just running all over the place? And they're like, well, maybe he is the guy. Like, they got stuck. And now the Giants, really got stuck. I mean, let's talk about a team that's stuck right now. You guys mentioned DeShaun Watson. I want to touch on this. DeShaun Watson obviously had a terrible game. He has been terrible with the Browns ever since he came over. Again, the first quarterback to get a full guaranteed contract, not the, hey, sign-in bonus deal. He has a guaranteed $240 million contract. They're $20 million left on that deal. I know he restructured. If the Browns decided to get rid of DeShaun Watson, it would count so far against the cap. They would only have like $37 million to work with over the next, how many years? You can't put a team together with $37 million. So they're stuck. Now, there's a possible out. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was another lawsuit filed against DeShaun Watson. And it goes all the way back to his time when he was in Houston. Same kind of deal, went on a date. Girl comes out, and he's laying on the bed, no clothes, face down, says he wants a massage. I mean, that's his thing, okay? And then things got ugly. Here's the deal. He's already been punished by the NFL for everything that happened with the Texans. The deal is this is a new suit. Now, who knows? We've seen certain organizations that seem to be in favor by Roger Goodell, where Roger Goodell could step in and say, this is a different lawsuit. This isn't the same thing that we punished you with before, and let the Browns out of this contract. Now, for Cleveland fans, they want to be let out of this deal, and I'm sure the Browns organization wants to be let out of this deal as well. I kind of feel like you got yourself into this horrible situation, and I guarantee you there are NFL owners out there that want to see the Browns suffer too, because you put every other NFL owner in a really bad spot by locking him into this thing, meaning Lerner. The family put the league into a bad spot by guaranteeing 100% of his contract because other quarterbacks now want the same deal. He got a guarantee deal. I want a guarantee deal. That's not the way the NFL is operated. That's how it works in Major League Baseball. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. So Roger Goodell can let the Browns out of this by stepping up and saying this is something else. Even though it happened with his time with the Texans, this is a whole different lawsuit, and we can let the Browns out of this deal for conduct, basically embarrassing the league, embarrassing the Shield, all that stuff. You always hear about the Shield all the time, but Cleveland, you earned this. Good job. Terrible business decision. You earned this.
Brennan Oakley says he's been terrible, absolutely. But to be fair to him, his dad died 3 days before Sunday, and his friend died too. It just seems to me like DeShaun Watson's head is everywhere but football. I mean, when guys are running wide open down the field and you're not even looking their direction, and when you do, you overthrow them by 20 yards, it just doesn't look like the DeShaun Watson that we all know. I'm not going to say I feel bad for him. I do feel bad about the situation that he's in with his dad, but the things that he can control, like the massages and all the things he's under trial for, I don't feel bad for. I don't know really what to say there. As a Browns fan, you feel terrible because you've been cursed as a franchise forever. Now you have a quarterback that you thought was going to be great that doesn't even want to play football at this moment. So it is what it is. I mean, when the Chargers play the Browns, I hope he's on the field and he's stinking it up because I want the Chargers to beat the Browns and every other team.
Yeah, I mean, first off, the documentary that's going to come out about him in 2 years is going to be so interesting. So interesting. I can't even imagine what that's going to even be like because it's going to happen.
It's going to have to be on Cinemax at 2 a.m. because it's dirty as hell.
It's going to be terrible. But DeShaun Watson, the Browns we can't draft a QB to save our life. No matter what we do, we don't draft a QB well. And they go, so let's go ahead and trade everything and more. Let's go ahead and reset the market. Let's go ahead and do everything we can to try to get, at the time, the second best quarterback in the NFL. And it still blew up in their face. That is one of the worst luck of all time. Gosh, you're a jerk. And it literally fell. It literally fell all apart for them. And it's terrible. And it sucks for Browns fans. And I think the rough spot too that they're in is that they're in a win now mode. And that
you keep doing that on purpose. You did that 3 times in a row. Here? Well, you keep using. You said they're in the wrong spot. He's a jerk. What's the first one he said? All these DeShaun Watson puns.
How about we just get out our minds out of the damn gutter? How about we do that for 1 second? I mean, how about that, gentlemen?
Women listen to this show. Let's get a grip.
I mean, God forbid we can use a little bit of lingo and not get attacked on here.
I'm so thrown off that Dave said his documentary is going to be on Skinamax. I still can't think since he said that.
I didn't get that one. I don't know. Was that a 2? I might be too young for that reference. I was trying to understand that in my head. I was just talking, and there was too much going on.
Nah, those got that softcore porn on Cinemax in the middle of the night. Come on.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ, man. Either way, screw DeShaun Watson.
Okay. That's what he's been trying. That's what he's been working at for a long time. 26 different girls. Here's the thing is there's an organization out there that thinks they can fix him. You know who that is, right? As soon as the Browns are able to get out of this contract, it's going to be the Raiders. They're going to be the first ones that sign him. We can fix that.
100%.
The Raiders are 100% going to be that team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like DeShaun Watson's going to disappear from the league. It's going to be the Raiders in a heartbeat to go, that's our guy. We can fix that. And then they won't be able to. It's going back to what Josh just said. DeShaun Watson, when he was with the Texans, especially in the fourth quarter, dude, he was the best quarterback in the league. It didn't matter what the score was. DeShaun Watson was, excuse the pun, he was coming back. That's the way it worked. I mean, DeShaun Watson.
We got to move on. We got to tie it. We're tying a knot on this one. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Let's talk Jets, Niners, anything like that. Week 2. I got something on the Buccaneers because we talked Browns, little Baker Mayfield. Let's just jump into that.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
All off season long, I was saying the Bucs are gonna take a big step back. The Bucs aren't gonna be good. I am sitting here September 10th, 2024. And I'm gonna say I'm an idiot. I was completely wrong. I was way off. The Buccaneers are going to win the NFC South again. They're going to make the playoffs again. Baker Mayfield's actually, I think he's a tier 3 quarterback that's flirting on the line with tier 2. That's could be like a Jared Goff. Could be. Mike Evans is still an incredible player. 4 incompletion. I mean, only 6 incompletions for Baker Mayfield, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns. I was rewatching some clips of that game, guys, and holy hell, is that offense explosive? Is that offense great? They're going to take the division easily and a nightmare to face.
All right, I don't disagree with you because he does look very good. That Washington Commanders defense has been so god awful the last 2 seasons that let's pump the brakes just a little bit. Let's see them play against a real NFL team because that defense is horribly bad. But Baker Mayfield, credit to him, man. I wrote him off for sure when he's quarterback of the Browns. This guy sucks. Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad wrote him off. Everybody wrote him off. But he does look great. Mike Evans, most underrated player in the NFL for the last 10 years. The dude is unbelievable. I still think the Saints have a fighting chance. I think the Falcons have a fighting chance. Panthers, you can write them in for the first pick of the NFL draft. That division might be a little bit better than what people expected.
No, I don't know if the division's better. I mean, I think you have 2 teams in there, right? I mean, the Buccaneers and the Falcons. I mean, I never have faith in Atlanta just because I always tell you I mess that up all the time.
What about New Orleans?
And so, man, I have zero faith in Carr. I just don't. and I mean, for him to sit there and hold up the fingers I mean, come on, dude. You think you're Dan Marino today? What are we doing here? Come on. Carr's been a disappointment his entire career, and everyone says he's a great guy. I understand all that stuff, and I'm just not a Carr fan. I just through 17 games, I'm just not a fan of Carr. Mayfield's a weird guy because I think Mayfield's one of those guys people want to hate, and I don't hate the guy. I hated his commercials when he was doing all those Cleveland commercials about lock the place up, like he lived at the stadium and all that. I just too much Baker Mayfield when he's with Cleveland, going back to his days at Oklahoma where he spiked the flag in the middle of Ohio State's field. That was kind of crazy. Kind of enjoyed that.
I love that.
Ohio
That was
State
my
fan, so
favorite thing. Yeah. Up yours, Ohio State.
kind of crazy. I was really disappointed when he tried to run from the police, but the police got him and jacked him into that brick wall. I'm like, dude, how good of an athlete are you? You can outrun out of shape cops. I was kind of disappointed that he couldn't get away. But I tell you what, he kind of won me over. Do you remember when the Browns cut ties with him and the Rams picked him up? And he learned the playbook in 24 hours on the plane. And then he goes and beats the Raiders, I think it was, right? A national televised game. And I was like, man, that was impressive to see Baker Mayfield pull it together. The Rams weren't going to keep him, obviously, when Stafford was healthy. So he gets a shot with the Buccaneers. And he was really good last year. And he was really good in week 1. Pretty exciting, man. Pretty exciting. What's this deal on here, by the way, on the side? I can see it. It's Davey McLean. Dude, it's 180 degrees where I'm sitting right now. I'm not wearing a sweatshirt. Normally I have a hoodie on. That's why I look clean. I haven't done anything. Damn.
Can you read that on the screen right there?
Hey, can you read that?
Say?
Dave takes Ozempic. I do not take Ozempic. 100% do not take Ozempic. I don't fluctuate.
I like the accusation. I like that.
Okay, it's fine. I know there's worse things to tell me, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not wearing a hoodie because it's so goddamn hot where I'm at right now. Waiting for Josh to go back to Tennessee so I could sit where he's sitting.
Hey, relax.
I could roll Cuban cigars where I'm at right now. It's so damn hot.
Wow, that wasn't nice.
Wow.
So another thing about the Chargers game real quick before we move on to the next topic. People were saying on social media if Gardner Minshew wasn't the quarterback of the Raiders, the Chargers might have lost that game. I completely disagree with that statement. I don't think there's any time for Gardner Minshew to throw or make plays in that second half. The adjustments that were made at halftime by Jim Harbaugh and his coaching staff were something we haven't seen in 4 years, Mario? We have not seen that in Charger football for the longest time. I don't think half the quarterbacks in the league could have made a comeback on the Chargers in the second half. There just wasn't anywhere to throw the ball. There wasn't any time. Chargers offense scored when they needed to. Do you disagree with what I'm saying, or do you agree with some people on social media?
No, I don't agree with that at all. I agree with you. The adjustments that were made and the energy that the Chargers had coming out of the second half, I just don't think was going to get matched. I just really, really don't. I think that's the horrible attitude that not a lot of teams can replicate, and the teams that can are on a different tier than the Raiders will ever be, and that currently, honestly, the Chargers are at right now. So I don't really agree with that. Is there anything you guys saw though in week 1 that you want to see change in week 2?
Hold on one second. I just want to touch on one thing you said here. How many times have we as Charger fans watch a Charger game, watch them come out in the second half and go, what the hell did they tell them at halftime? Throw that speech away. God. Especially, right? I mean, honest to God, every coach they've had since Marty. I remember doing it in North Turner, hey, you might want to throw that speech away because whatever you told them at halftime was a disaster. And that goes for every coach they've had until this past Sunday. right? And we talked about that. Whatever the adjustments they made were gigantic. And you could start with the way they neutralized Max Crosby. Max Crosby was a huge factor in the first half. Second half, you didn't even know Max Crosby was in the game. So what the Chargers did on their basically changes at halftime were amazing. And we've been waiting years, like 15 years, for something to be different. And it was different, and that's something I think we can expect.
Well, you said you're the one that said it going into this game. I believe you're the one that said it. The difference between Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh is Jim Harbaugh knows how to win. Antonio Pierce is a placeholder of a head coach. And for Tony Romo to say he has a great future, I'm like, where? Like, the future's now. Like, how much more time do you think Antonio Pierce has? In the NFL, it's, your job's over like that. The difference between the Chargers team on Sunday and the Chargers teams of the past is they would have screwed it up, whether it's penalties or turnovers or bad clock management. You did not see any of those things in the second half. So that's what I'm looking for going forward in the season. And players that I'd like to see improve, Mario, there's a handful, right? You'd like to see Gus Edwards, be a little bit better. You'd like to see Josh Palmer get open. You'd like to see Quentin Johnston make catches on the sideline. And I can't wait to hear Dave's rant here in a second about Quentin Johnston. And then you'd like to see a little bit better play from the interior defensive line. I understand that the interior defensive line was great. I'd like to see some of the younger guys, maybe like Junior Colson. I know he's a linebacker. Or Justin Aboigbe, who didn't get a play in the first game, make some plays as well. You got to be happy with the defense as a whole. Jesse Minter was fantastic. Derwin James looked like the old Derwin James. But you like to see everybody contribute, which I think they will against the Panthers.
I do too. I think the thing I really want to see different from the Chargers is, holy hell, let's win on third down. I mean, the Chargers were god-awful on third down. I believe at the end of the first half, they had one third down conversion, which is just you can't do that again. If that was against a competent, good football team, we lose that game easily. You can't do that. You're going to put yourself in too big of a hole. And this is not an offense too that can afford to be down big and always come back and win, because we do not have the luxury of receiver weapons all over the place. We're going to really run the hell of the ball, and it's really hard to come back and win when running the ball is 70% of your offense. That's going to be insanely hard. So I want to see the third down wins be better in week 2. I also want to see, we mentioned it, dude, I really want to see a different Joshua Palmer in this game. I really, really do. And he didn't really show up when we needed him last game. He just kind of wasn't even there. He had a bad drop in the end zone. There's just balls that you could tell where Herbert threw and put in a spot where it could only be in. And the receivers just weren't really ready for it. And that's got to change here in week 2. And that's why I'm pumped to see. And with Gus Edwards too, Josh, I feel like that's going to be week by week, a different flavor every week. Some weeks we're going to see a Gus Edwards crazy game, and some weeks we're going to see J.K. Dobbins have a crazy game. And I don't know if we're ever going to see some consistent unless injury happens.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is something special. I mean, we've spoken about this for a long time, since the day they acquired him. When he's healthy, he's one of the best in the league. It's just a matter of time that you hope that you can keep him healthy. If we come across the day where J.K. Dobbins does what he's been doing his entire NFL career, where he gets hurt and he can't play, it's going to hurt. I mean, Gus Edwards, we know that he can get in the end zone. One thing about Gus Edwards, we expect him to stay healthy. We just have to have him as a threat week in and week out. He wasn't really a threat the last game against the Raiders. His time will come. I don't know what you do with a guy in a physical sport like J.K. Dobbins, right? If we're worried about him getting hurt, it's one of those where you hope you get the lead and you manage the time with Gus Edwards. But it's unfortunate, because J.K. is something special. We all saw it. We knew it before, and we're all falling in love with J.K. Dobbins right now. It gets to the point I'm all in. And if something happens, you're going, you're crushed and going, what's the next move? Going to Joshua Palmer, man, he isn't a one. He's in a bad situation. We're asking a lot from him. He's an NFL football player, but he's just not a one. He's never proven to be a one. He filled in that one game a couple years ago when they relied on him against Atlanta Falcons, and he played out of his mind. But he's never done that before his entire NFL career. He has been a disappointment from when the day the Chargers drafted him to what he is now. He hasn't been able to step up to be the guy that you expect to take that next step. And look, I'll talk about QJ right now, because, man, everybody was really great on the last show as far as the people that jumped on as soon as the game was over. and the people that comments while the show are going, and the people, again, I want you to subscribe and like. I ask you every single show. This is the time to do it. You guys did it last show. That was great to see how many people wanted to talk and listen to Charger football on the Bolt Crew podcast. But for the people that sat there and say we were too tough on Quentin Johnston or coming after me, are you guys all related to him? Like, what is the deal? You guys remind me, as a guy who coached a lot of little league teams, you remind me of the parent that just because your kid has the same last name that you have, that you think your kid's great. He's not. Okay, if this was a little league team, you'd be hiding J.K. Dobbins, or Quentin Johnston in right field and batting him ninth, and hopefully they throw him 4 balls and doesn't have to swing the bat. That's where he is right now. He's not a good football player, and he's a disappointment as a number 1 draft pick for the Chargers. He is not that guy yet. We all hope he can be. Trust me, the 3 of us want to see him succeed better than anybody. But, man, he's nowhere close, and I don't understand the defense of this guy. Okay, he's getting called out. Tony Romo is calling him out, and has called him out 2 years in a row. First time called out because he didn't know the playbook. And, again, he showed me he didn't know the playbook last game when he ran his route too far. Again, he said, I couldn't trust him. That's what Tony Romo said. That's what Justin Herbert's thinking too. I can't trust you if you aren't going to run the right amount of yards before you make your cut. He's fast enough to get open. He's elusive enough to get open. Before we're worried about the way he catches the ball, he has to be in a position in the right place to catch the ball. Playing receiver, for anyone that's gone in the backyard and said, hey, I'm going to go out and do an out, that's not the way it works in the NFL. Every play is designed. Is that 7 yards? Is that 8 yards? Is that 12 yards? How far is that out? And that's where the quarterback's going to throw the ball. He's going to throw the ball before you even make your break, because it's that hard to get open in this league. For him to sit there and run the wrong routes and not prove that he knows what he's doing is a major reason for concern. So everyone who says we're too tough on QJ, you guys couldn't be more wrong. I'll stand by that over and over again until he figures it out.
You're so correct. For people that are praising him for catching a wide open crossing route over the middle, 8 yards down the field, like, dude, you could catch that. Probably. I don't even know who you are, and you could probably catch that. This is an NFL level wide receiver. He's going to catch those wide open passes. We are asking him to make contested catches, whether he's in the middle of the field or make a catch on the sideline. Did you forget that he was a first-round pick last season? It's not wrong of us Charger fans to expect a lot out of a first-round wide receiver. Why is it wrong to expect Quentin Johnston to make the catches that are thrown right at him? So I don't know why people get so upset about that. If Quentin Johnston was in Pittsburgh or Green Bay or Dallas, where they expect a lot out of their players, it would be a lot worse for him. He's probably in a great situation being with the LA Chargers because fans give him a lot of slack, and I don't think that's right. I think as fans,
the quarterback doesn't call him out. Yeah, if that was Aaron Rodgers, he would have called him out.
Oh, dude, before Mario goes, what's Aaron Rodgers saying to Mike Williams? Like, dude, where are you? Like, is this what you were with the Chargers? Like, Mike Williams disappeared last night. Anyway, Mario, what do you got to say about Quentin Johnston?
No, I mean, I'll just refer like what I said last show, and I stand by it. It's one-on-one on the outside when he's put in those positions, and he was putting that on his seam route, and he's putting that on that out route. He cannot win those matchups, and he cannot make those plays. He cannot catch the football in those situations. He just can't. That's not who he is. He's a crossing route. He's a screen pass guy, and I think that's the ceiling, and that's who he is as a player. My thing is let's stop putting him in that position then where we go, hey, we have one-on-one on the outside with Quinn. Let's make sure no safety over top. You got to take advantage of it. It doesn't work. He doesn't win it. Like, he just doesn't win the matchup. It doesn't matter who it's against. Doesn't matter what corner's on him. Doesn't matter if the corner's pressed or 5 yards off. He doesn't win it. So let's stop throwing it to him. Let's put someone else in that spot, and let's see if they can take advantage of it, because clearly he can't. And if we're going to keep doing that song and dance, not like that's going to work out and it's going to be there, fine, but I just don't expect a lot of success from it. So that's where I'm at with Quentin Johnston. Again, crossing route, yak guy, sure. I think he can do a lot of damage. He can help us out a lot, but I don't expect anything more than that. I think we have to go to a different direction to take advantage of certain matchups on the outside. So, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Know your role. Like I said, know your role.
Here's the deal. Steven writes on the side that they should have gone to another receiver, like maybe Rice. Look, you can't make him inactive in week 1. All right. The talk is, the rumor is, and I understand Jim Harbaugh's running things now. John Spanos is the one supposedly made that pick. You aren't going to make him a week 1 inactive when he was your first round draft pick just a year ago. You got to let him prove that he can't play. And whether there's going to be pushback in the organization of saying, this guy just can't play. right now, I guarantee you Rice knows how to run those routes. There are other guys in this league that know how to run those routes. It's one of those things, guys, it's expected in high school, college, and the NFL that you got to know what your route is. And to sit there and Justin Herbert to be the kind of guy that doesn't call him out, he's showing what it is. Anyone that knows football knows that he's making mistakes out there, unfortunately. I'd love to see this guy turn around because this team desperately needs wide receiver help. And especially when you have receivers that you're counting on that all of a sudden are injured before the season even begins, you need Quentin Johnston to be the guy the Chargers thought he was going to be. I'm not going to sit there and go, John Spano screwed us. Yeah, he did. There's no point in talking about it now, right? We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. We got to try and fix what we have because right now we got a guy that's basically he's a fake guy that's on the field. When you have 11 players on the field, he's a guy you aren't going to use because you don't trust him. Justin Herbert, isn't the kind of guy that's going to call him out. At this point, I'm kind of glad. And I want to jump into this because we kind of spoke about it at the very beginning about Jim Harbaugh, is that if you listen to Jim Harbaugh talk and all the interviews that Josh was talking about that he's watching as soon as the game's over, Jim Harbaugh does a fantastic job at talking his players up, even the stars, over and over again. Watch how many times he does an interview, and it's not about just the team or about his coaching staff or about the front office. It's always he drops as many names as he possibly can because he knows those players are going to hear it. And when those guys believe that my coach believes in me and my coach needs me, you're going to get maximum effort every single week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was talking about how the interior offensive lineman had a great game. Well, I don't think any of us would agree with that. We all saw Zion Johnson out there. I don't think anybody would say Zion Johnson had a great game, but he does that. He talks up all of his players. He talks up Quentin Johnston, said that he had a great game. I don't agree with that either. Quentin Johnston is 6'3". Okay. If you guys think that the Chargers are going to put up with no help on the sidelines for the entire season, you're insane. Are they going to make a trade for Amari Cooper if the Browns go down the toilet? I don't know. Is that something the Chargers would do? Hopefully. In the past, the Chargers don't make trades like that during the season, but you need to have a threat on the sidelines. And it's just something that needs to happen. Michael Thomas is a threat over the middle. That's not another guy that I would get for the sidelines. That's the big miss, not having Mike Williams there, Mario, is you have no threat on the sidelines. It's going to be something we're going to be watching the entire season for it. If Josh Palmer can't get open, I mean, who the hell are we going to throw the ball to? We can't throw the ball over the middle of the field all game long. I'm sorry, man. Can you put up the comment right here by Les Smith? I think this is something else we need to watch for as Charger fans. Les says, do you guys think we'll see a lot of cover zero because they are not afraid of our receivers? Yes. I think that is 100% the scouting report against the Chargers. You are going to blitz the hell out of Justin Herbert, and you're going to make the receivers on the Chargers get open. That's going to be the thing we're going to watch for the entire season. Can Josh Palmer get open? Can Quentin Johnston get open? The only guy I have confidence in getting open right now is Ladd McConkey.
I think on top of that, you're going to see a lot of stints get pulled because when that happened against the Raiders, it worked. And I think that's a lot of stuff you're going to see coming through against the Chargers going forward. The blitzing, that's going to happen, man, because I'm going to look at all my corners and I'm going to go, hey, let's make the receivers beat us today. Let's make them. If Ladd McConkey or if Joshua Palmer has 200 yards receiving, then then God came down and helped them today. And that's just what we're going to have to live with. It's not going to surprise me at all if we see it all through the season. It's going to happen, Dave, because in football, you got to play to your strengths and play to the other team's weaknesses. And that's a weakness for us right now. And let's be honest, if I'm a defense coordinator, I want that to happen. And I'm going to look at Herbert and go, let's see how great you really are. Let's see how good you can make these guys look.
I tell you what, if you don't see it on Sunday, you're going to see it against Pittsburgh for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, for sure. I mean, honestly, you have if you made it through week one, if you aren't going to see it against the Panthers, the Steelers are going to do it.
Okay, dude. For these guys, right? Cario and GS, the game's decided in the trenches. Dude, you can win in the trenches all day long. Who's Justin Herbert going to throw the ball to if they're not open? What does that mean? I don't understand. What is that supposed to mean? Yeah. The situation you're in this season with Josh Palmer is the situation we had last season with Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett's a backup tight end. He's the backup tight end for the Chicago Bears, but we expected him to be a number one. Josh Palmer, to me, is a number 3 on most NFL teams. To have him be the number 1 going against the number 1 corner on the other team, he's an underdog. That's just the situation we're in.
It's going to be interesting. And it's a good game, like we said, for him to show that he's not number 3, to show that he's more than that. And that's against the Panthers. Let's show it here. And maybe even against the Steelers who can show it. Like, that defense is good. That defense is old. Very old. So, hell, we'll see. And I just want to be really quick about the Steelers. I said that Fields would start by the time he faces us.
You did say that.
Just saying. It's probably going to happen.
By the way, let me throw this one at you. As Josh threw out Amari Cooper as being a possible trade candidate down the line. What about Hunter Renfrow? Any interest? He's sitting there as a free agent.
No, he's not the type of receiver we need.
Yeah.
You need a big body guy or a bigger body guy.
We're going to get another bad lad.
Well, you might have another lad. It would be like having two lads on the team is what you'd have.
I'm good with one lad.
Yeah, I
good with one lad. Good with one lad.
You get two lads and you go into an Irish pub. That's what happens.
That's what happens. All right. Want to ask you guys real quick. Mike Williams, by the way, Josh brought him up, former Chargers, just to give people an idea. As we'll probably keep track of how these former Chargers are doing. Keenan Allen for the Bears caught 4 passes, 29 yards. Mike Williams 0 catches, 0 targets.
Dropped a touchdown pass too. I'd like to add for Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Keenan Allen, it looks like Keenan Allen's there for the paycheck. Mike Williams, $15 million from the Jets, 0 catches, 0 targets against the Niners.
Never healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty amazing right there to see exactly how things went. I want to ask you guys kickoff rules. We have people in the chat saying, what do you think about the kickoff rules? I don't like them. I'll tell you what, guys, I kind of do like them.
I like it a lot. It made it more exciting. It used to just be a waste of time. It's a touchback every single time. Now there's actually action. I like it.
Dude, I'm all for it. It's a big return every single time. Dude, you're talking, I mean, me and Josh grew up on Hester. And Hester was the most electric, and Joshua Cribbs, like another guy throwing there. Like, that was the most electric thing of all time, was those guys getting the ball, and you just held on to your seat and go, I can't wait for this ride. And now we have that again.
Yep. Christian writes in here, no one's trading for QJ. Look, if QJ was on the block, you're lucky to get a 7th round pick. I mean, honestly, how many teams in the NFL thinks they can fix it? They know what's going on. NFL front offices know what's going on with QJ. And again, we can sit there and say you're a huge fan, and I hope it works out great. Joey Bosa, by the way, man, played a great game. By the way, anyone who wants to sit there and say, hey, Dave, it's time to eat crow, I picked him to be one of my picks to click. I picked him to have a big year this year. I hope he keeps it up. But at the same time, Joey Bosa, someone said, did you hear his post-game interviews? I will not listen to a Joey Bosa post-game interview. I've been there front row for Joey Bosa a million times. I'm sorry. I've said this before, and it's not patting myself on the back. I did the first ever interview with Joey Bosa when he was drafted by the Chargers, right there on a stage in front of whatever you could fit into San Diego Stadium, Jack Murphy Stadium, whatever the hell it was called at the time, on NFL Network, right there. Talk to Joey Bosa. Okay, Joey Bosa, good dude. But, man, I watched him as soon as that team went to L.A., and I saw him in the locker room, and nobody complained more than Joey. Over and over again, it was all about complaints. It was never about what can we do to fix this. It was always about how miserable Joey was. And I have no time for that, not in a team game. There's something I respect about Justin Herbert and Derwin James and those guys that go about their jobs very serious every single week. Joey Bosa was one of those guys. It seemed like it wasn't the most important thing in his life, being an NFL football player. So I really don't care about anything Joey says. That's simple player speak to me, and I think he's lying to all of us. It's all about Joey trying to get his. It always is. And he plays a position on the NFL field as a defensive end where it is about just get his. Just do your job. That's it. Just get to the quarterback. You have one thing to do. You really don't even have to show up to meetings. You just watch some tape on what you think your move is going to be on the guy that's trying to block you and try and get to the quarterback. That's it. We'll look at the stats at the end of the game. But to hear Joey Bosa interviewed, I have no time for that at all. I don't care. I just feel Joey's a liar.
As long as he makes plays, that's all I care about.
That's all I care about too. And he made plays against the Raiders. I do not root against Joey. Player. It sounds like I'm rooting against him. I'm not rooting against Joey at all. I just want to see Joey finally basically play up to that contract. That's all I'm asking.
That's all we want. It's all we've always wanted from Joey Bosa. Just to prove his contract. Did you guys see the one former Charger that had a great game in week 1?
Are you going to Basson Joseph Day? Who are you going with?
Oh, he had a good game. He had a really good game. Better game than him. Better game than him, though. Defensive player also. He's on the Chargers last year. Did anybody see this?
Mario, what directions you going? Do you know?
Michael Davis. Michael Davis played terrible because they're making fun of him.
Not him.
Why am I blanking?
Anybody in the chat know which former Charger had a great game in week 1? 2 sacks. 5 seconds for anybody to get this.
5 sacks?
5 seconds.
No. Oh.
All right, nobody got it. Eric Kendricks for the Dallas Cowboys had a hell of a
Oh.
week 1 game. Dude, I didn't even know he was still in the NFL. I didn't even know he got picked up by the Cowboys.
I was about to say that's a good trivia question in like
That's a good
5
one,
years.
huh?
Yeah, when someone's like, "What are all the teams Eric Kendricks played for?" People are like Vikings, Chargers, and I don't know.
Yeah, 2 sacks for Eric Kendricks in the ass beating over the Cleveland Browns.
Ugh.
By the way,
quick.
we should have picked that. By the way, the Cowboys always play great in week 1. All of us picked against the Cowboys in week 1. We should have picked that. I don't know how we messed that up. And by the way, I'll give you the picks. You guys want to have any idea how we did on our picks last week?
Oh, dude, my bad. He had 2 sacks and an interception. Eric Kendricks. Where was that, bud? Brandon Staley. What? Damn it.
How did we do in our picks? Because the Panthers,
Okay.
I hate the Panthers forever now. Because they just lit my tickets on fire.
You know what's funny, Mark? I went back and I listened to that show to make sure I had the picks right. Yeah. And to hear your enthusiasm for the Panthers outlasted my enthusiasm for the Panthers about Dave Canales. I'm hearing great things. Like, I sound like a dope dude, but you passed me up, which was great. I thought I was the worst one because I started off 0-3 in our picks. I actually had the best week out of all of us. Josh and Mario were 7-9. I was 8-8. And again, if you're betting week 1 in the NFL, I think you're kind of crazy, except for Mario, who did say on the show he went huge on the Vikes. And it paid off for you, Mario.
It did.
Yeah.
I did Vikes and Fields 50+ rushing yards was plus money. And I just opened and I just smacked that as hard as I could. And that also came through. And then the Panthers decided to piss down their leg, and then the Browns decided that we're going to be terrible.
Browns were absolutely terrible at home.
I
Absolutely.
hate Browns. But shout out to Niners, by the way, guys. Holy hell. Woo.
Yeah. Fred Warner is the best defensive player in the NFL, right? Or TJ Watt, then Fred Warner? Or how would you guys do that?
TJ Watt gets the credit because he gets the sacks. He's always in the quarterback's face.
Doesn't Fred Warner look like he always knows where the ball is going every play? It's insane.
I'm so amazed by Fred Warner. I am so impressed by him every single time. Like, if I was a Niners fan, I'd be buying a 54 jersey. Like, I'm so amazed by Fred Warner.
I'm trying to think of who else there. I mean, I still put Crosby up there because Crosby's just on every play. He's somewhere around it.
Miles Garrett's up there. Yeah,
Miles Garrett's up there.
Biggest complaint for me as someone who drafted Christian McCaffrey, the Niners knew on Friday Christian McCaffrey wasn't playing. And for the NFL to say they aren't going to do anything about it, look, we don't live in a state. I don't live in a state in California where it's legalized sports gambling. Man, for your fantasy football, for your gambling, let's be honest. There are 3 things that bring you to an NFL game in any order you want. Your favorite team, fantasy football, and gambling. The NFL knows it. That's why you have to be correct on your injury reports. The 49ers knew all along Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play week 1. It's the Monday night game. It's hard to sit there and go, okay, now what do I do? But the NFL, there's no punishment. Roger Goodell came out today, so there will be no punishment to the 49ers for lying. Yes.
How's that possible?
When they asked Mason, they said, when did you know you were going to be the starting running back? Because I knew on Friday. I knew McCaffrey wasn't playing. McCaffrey knew he wasn't playing.
How's there not a fine or a loss of a draft pick or something of that nature?
That's the thing right there. The NFL does this all the time where they pick and choose which organizations they want to protect. Just like we spoke at the very beginning of the show about the Browns.
They do this with the Chiefs.
All the time.
Yeah.
The Chiefs all the time.
Dude, that's horse crap. That's ridiculous.
And then they came out with if it was a playoff game, he would have played. They came out with that too, which I thought was crazy. Like I was like, don't even say that. Like, don't. That's like
makes it worse.
That makes it so much worse. That's literally the Mike Vrabel. Yeah, I was gonna get the job if Harbaugh was available, or like, I don't know. You try to ask a girl to prom and she says no because she was, but you were my second choice because this other guy asked me, and can't pass up George Kittle or something.
One of my biggest pet peeves in sports, and you see it all the time when a coach gets the job after the guy they initially were chasing didn't take it. The guy always steps to the microphone. I wasn't my wife's first choice either. Everybody uses the same stupid line. I hate that line.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. B. Hannon wrote.
Also, keep that to yourself if you're your wife's second choice.
Kidding.
I would just keep it to yourself on that one. Yeah.
Don't be a cuck. Come on.
And Matt Stafford. I don't even know what commercials he's doing for that mattress right now. But every time I see Matt Stafford in the bed with his wife, I keep thinking, she banged the second string quarterback to make him jealous in college. Like, dude, maybe you shouldn't do commercials when you're in bed.
But
you know?
but apparently he was also getting his business in.
That's fine.
So maybe
quarterback
that
for a
equals
major
out.
college team. He's supposed to. What's her excuse?
Love.
Didn't.
Come on, please. Number 1 overall draft pick. Come on, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
All right, it's bringing a lot to the bank account. Look, so anyway, I regress. All right, so here's the deal.
Ooh,
Hannon wrote on the message board. He said, "Chargers should be fine." Kind of like what Josh says, either fined or
49ers.
draft pick.
49ers.
Yeah,
not
the
Chargers.
49ers should be fined for basically not being honest. Because when you start messing with the fans' money, that's when they start getting upset. And when you're sitting there going fantasy football, and there's some major money in fantasy football, that McCaffrey's not playing or changes the line, it's ridiculous. Yeah, for the 49ers to get a pass and not to have anything, the NFL to come out today and say we aren't doing anything to punish the Niners, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man.
It's crazy.
Very disappointing. By the way, I will say this in a compliment to Matthew Stafford. I watched that game against the Lions Sunday night. Dude, I'm a huge Matthew Stafford fan. I mean, I always was a fan of his when he was in Detroit, like a guy that was in a bad organization for years, but was extremely talented. The passes Matthew Stafford makes week in and week out, if you ever watch the Rams, is insane. The no-look passes, the back foot, all that stuff. I just sit there and admire that because I'm like, I don't know how he does it. Like, there's no one in the league that matches what he does. Mahomes is the closest thing to it. Stafford's ridiculous. Still has a cannon that age. What is he, 36 now? And just is fun to watch. Throws a pretty ball. He is fun to watch, man. I'm a huge Matthew Stafford fan. There you go.
I'm gonna bet them a lot this week.
I'll leave it at that. I want to ask you guys this, okay? Because Mario and I spoke about this a little bit. Josh might be lost on this one as I throw the question out there. Give me a team after week 1 that you thought you were in on that you're no longer in on, and a team that you weren't in on that you are in on after week 1.
Do you have an answer?
Well, I know I do.
Right.
I was in on the Browns. I'm completely out on the Browns. And I am now in on the Rams. I know they suffered injuries to their tackles and Nakua, but the Rams looked really good. Like, if the Rams didn't run out of gas, I thought the Rams were going to win that game. And if we all think the Lions are a team that's a Super Bowl team, I think the Rams are about to have a pretty good season.
What do you got, Mario?
I already said it earlier. So Bucks, that's the team I was out on, and I'm kind of back in on. I'd say team I'm completely out on. I was already out on them at the beginning of the year. I was going to say Jags right away, but I was already out. I'm going to go ahead and say Bengals. I think I'm out all the way. Like, all the way out.
I feel like they do this every year, the Bengals, where they suck at the beginning and then they turn it on at the end. I'll tell you a team that surprised me to some degree was the Bills. Like, Josh Allen, maybe he's better than I give him credit for. Like, I already knew he was great, but the way he just took over that game, I was like, damn, man. Like, I thought that was really impressive. I don't think the Bills are a great team, but a team I'm kind of out on is the Falcons. Like, I watched that Pittsburgh Steelers-Falcons game, and there's just nothing there. Like, you have studs all over the field. Kirk Cousins looked like a shell of himself. That was an ugly game to watch.
They suck with a capital S.
Dude, boring as hell. Are the Falcons boring as hell? Like, how can you be that boring? You finally got a quarterback.
Dude, they have guys all over the field that make plays. They couldn't do anything.
How about if you drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's wide open and Kyler Murray doesn't even look his direction? Like,
yeah, thanks, man.
I mean, the Cardinals don't have a lot, but holy cow, they got 2 guys that everyone in the country knows who they are. Like, it was like, what did Marvin Harrison do to Kyler Murray that says, I will not throw you the ball? It was insane to watch.
Yeah.
It was it was one of those. We go, what the hell? One of the comments we got, and look, we're in a win-win situation on this one. The Chargers didn't make a mistake with Joe Alt, and we got a ton of comments on this. I was pushing for Bowers. Josh was pushing for Bowers before the draft as a way to somehow get him. Joe Alt could be the next Joe Thomas. Honestly, he could be a Hall of Famer and could play for 15 years. The Chargers did not make a mistake getting Alt. At the same time, I don't think the Raiders made a mistake with Bowers either. You know, my biggest fear is Travis Kelce. Like, when can Kelce retire so I think the Chargers can take over this division? I think Bowers is an extremely talented player. He doesn't have a quarterback to give him the ball, or maybe he doesn't have the team around him. But I don't think the Chargers would have missed either way. I honestly believe both players are going to have great careers, and all again could be a Hall of Famer. You just don't pay attention to your offensive line that much in the NFL.
I kind of disagree. I think the Raiders big whiff on Bowers.
How do you say that? He was open every single chance that got him the ball. I mean, wide open.
I think you should clear freaking house to get a QB. You should have put everything you can to get a QB. Everything you can to get a QB. I don't care. Devontae, see ya. He's older. Even if you get a young QB, he's going to be good for it for what, 2 years, and then he's going to want out anyways. I would have, yeah. That's where it's about where I think.
Which QB would you have grabbed at that point? Which QB? You would have just made a trade to move up, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I would have done everything I can to get up. Anything I can to get up, to get Bo or Penix, I would have done. I don't think it was a smart move at all to just get Bowers when you have Michael Mayer the year before. So you have two guys that are supposed to be his generational talents at tight end.
I don't think Mayer's that bad at all. I think
Mayer's
I don't say Mayer's not bad. He's just a stiff. He doesn't move. He's not elusive.
I mean, he may be, but Kelsey's not that elusive either, and he just finds a way to get open. Like, I'm just saying, I don't get the move of back-to-back tight ends in the first round selections. I think is a crazy move to do, especially when you have the biggest question mark on your team's and most important position on the team.
I'm kind of curious to see. Someone said Bowers at 5, and they're laughing. I'm telling you right now, if Kelsey was available at 5, and you know the career he's going to have, you would have taken Kelsey at 5. You would have taken him at 5, being that guy. It's too hard to find guys like that. And I don't know. I don't think the Chargers made a mistake. I'm just saying I think both teams won. I'm kind of curious. I don't know if the Raiders can find a quarterback, honestly, Mario, that can fix it. I mean, you're hearing Carson Beck, all that stuff, to be the guy that the Raiders would chase next year. I don't know. Kind of curious to see how the Raiders fix their problems, because we want to see, as in this division, we want to see the Raiders continue to struggle. Missing that quarterback is a huge deal. You know, I don't know. Devontae Adams, you think he's traded this year? And what are you asking
100%. 100%. He just does not want to be on the Raiders.
No, I think a lot of guys don't want to be on the Raiders. I'm not sure Max Crosby wants to be on the Raiders.
Yeah, but he's the most outspoken one.
Third round pick?
He's the only one that people care about.
What would you say if you traded him to the Jets, Mario? What are you asking in return? You already know Aaron Rodgers wants him.
I start high. I start really high. I'll try to start with first or second, and then get talked down. I would start high. I mean, art of the deal.
Doesn't matter who's on the Jets, man. Aaron Rodgers did not look good, like, at all. Aaron Rodgers just looks old, which he is, 40 years old. I don't think Devontae Adams changes that team all that much.
I agree that I think there's more holes on the defense than the offense, and I think that game more last night showed that the Niners are still a step above everyone else.
Could be the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, literally.
They're impressive. They're very, very impressive. All right, just curious to know what the asking price would be. I agree with you, Mario. You got to start high. Well, would you pull this move? Would you take a second-round pick and Mike Williams back from the Jets? Telesco did draft him.
I don't want anything to do with Mike Williams.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so out on Mike Williams.
No. I mean, if you're Raiders on the other side, you start. Would you start with Wilson almost?
I would. I'd ask for it right away. Aaron Rodgers loves him so much. We want Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Remember, Aaron Rodgers is in his last year of his contract with the Jets. This could be it. Everyone's trying to keep him happy.
His Netflix stock's gonna be terrible. Who cares? Let's have it.
Would he go to the Raiders with Devontae next year?
No.
You don't think Aaron would?
No, I think he's gonna go on the biggest mushroom trip of all time for like 8 months, and we don't see him.
I could see Aaron Rodgers on the Raiders. I could see him on the Raiders. I mean, think about it. They wouldn't have to give up anything. Whereas if they were to trade for Kirk Cousins, you would have to give up a ton. It's not like the Falcons are using Kirk Cousins for a 1-year deal and then use him as leverage for a trade. Who knows? Who knows how it's going to work out? We do know on Thursday, though, we're going to break down the game heading into the Panthers. At the same time, we're going to make our picks again. It's always a lot of fun because we're so good at it. We do get better as the season goes on. I can guarantee that. Fantasy football-wise, some people asked about that. Mario and I matched against each other in both Bulk Crew leagues. We split. He won one. I won one. Josh, you win in the Bulk Crew league?
I won in both leagues. Yep, barely.
Yep.
Barely in one and killed in the other. Yeah.
It's called a win. It's called a victory. It doesn't matter by how many points, right? It's called a win, like we say all the time. Anyone else we want to get to on the side? And We didn't miss any super chats, right?
No, I'm good. What about you, Mario? You good?
No, yeah, I'm all good.
There we go. All right. Hey, thank you again to everybody that listened to the show again on Tuesday at 1:00 Pacific time. We'll be back again. Those are the times: Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday after Charger games, and then we're good to go. But I appreciate everybody that again likes the show, subscribes to the show. We need all the help we can get. Josh has to catch a plane, otherwise we go a little bit longer. But we'll be back in 2 days. So again, for Mario Heron, Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you in 2 days.